Today reflect on various challenges facing the Labour Federation. The four-day Congress began in Midrand, north of Johannesburg, yesterday. One of the main challenges is the loss of the 350,000 members of expelled metalworkers union Numsa. Now, our contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko, he's in Midrand at the Congress. A very good morning to you, Vuyo. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, Yeben.
Before we get into the expectation of today, the President took to the podium yesterday and pleaded for unity. You must have spoken to some of the delegates already by now. How has the President's words been received thus far?
Well, I mean, with unity and cohesion being the theme of the conference, virtually every speaker, everyone who spoke yesterday, including the president of Cosatu, had to deal with that issue. But of course, whether they did so adequately or whether they went into the areas that some people thought perhaps needed venturing into is another matter altogether. I didn't seem to get a sense that there was adequate reflection as to how Cosatu came to where it is today. In other words, a proper and very thorough analysis of how the disunity came about, the factors that influenced it or are responsible for this state of affairs, and of course, with that, how to get out of the quagmire that Cosatu is in right now. But that said, he did speak a lot about unity, but also he spoke about, I think he spent a considerable amount of time talking about the various roles or the respective roles that he believes the members of the alliance should, in fact, not only practice but actually stick to. Because he spent a lot of time talking about the role of the ANC, the role of Cosatu as opposed to that of the ANC, the role of the SACP as opposed to that of the ANC and Cosatu, as well as the role of Sanco as opposed to the roles of the other three. And I think for him, that distinction was important because he seemed to suggest that it will refocus the respective components of the tripartite alliance so as to eliminate the tensions that have been seen over the last while. So yes, unity and cohesion he spoke a lot about, but as I said earlier, I didn't get a sense that there was adequate reflection. There seemed to be areas that everyone seemed to be tiptoeing around and not really getting to.
This is an elective conference after all, Vuyo, and we see reports today that 5 out of the 6 top positions will go through unopposed. How should we read this situation, and how do you read this?
Well, if you speak to Stumodla, he's going to tell you that it is a sign that the leadership, the national office bearers of Cosatu have never been as united. In other words, there hasn't been as much unity among them as we have seen over the past couple of years, because it's going to point out to the fact that only Zwelinzima Mavavi is not there, thereby creating a vacancy. But of course, if you speak to other people, among them the unions like FAU and SAKAU, they are going to tell you that the current state of affairs has actually been imposed on them. There wasn't any room for reflection or to even find alternative candidates because that would not have been tolerated at all. So it depends really on who you ask. But that said, if this leadership that's now taking over for another 5-year term is going to refocus Cosatu on issues that matter, they probably stand a better chance of actually reuniting Cosatu, or what is left of Cosatu, and giving it a new energy and a new direction. But of course, that's subject to no other people deciding to join the other group led by Numsa that is outside of Cosatu. That is subject also to a situation not arising whereby the remaining unions within Cosatu, the situation doesn't sort of unravel and new tensions arise, or there's a new movement within that seeks to undo and even unseat the leadership that has already been elected. So the situation at the moment may, on the face of it, look calm, but that's only if there will not be other issues that may unravel the situation. For example, today, there is going to be that report, organizational report, that the secretary, the general secretary of Cosatu, Bekin Chalinchali, is going to read. To what extent is that report, or what comes out of that report, and the discussions that will follow, to what extent will they open old wounds, so to speak? To what extent will they influence even those that may think the situation has been okay or good up until now? So we can only make that determination once those discussions take place later today. Yeben?
You mentioned that report, and you mentioned today the talk today is about dealing with the challenges facing the federation. Do you expect these debates to take on a very fiery characteristic a little bit later in the day once that report is delivered?
I don't think Cosatu has a choice but to deal with those issues, because the issues that, by their own admission, they haven't been able to deal with are the issues that go to the core of their existence. Cosatu is about winning, in fact, and its affiliate unions are about winning shop floor victories for their membership. It's about servicing their membership, things that they admit they haven't done. So they do not have a choice but to actually deal with those issues. But whether the other attendant issues, which I'm saying, or saying really they haven't dealt with adequately, if those issues tend to dominate, then there is little chance that they will be able to deal with the core issues. For example, just to make an example, if Cosatu leaders aren't prepared to admit, not only to admit, but to actually rectify, to deal with the issue of the ambitions of some of their leaders, for example, the aspirations of some political aspirations of some of their leaders, then there's no way they are going to be able to deal adequately with what they call factionalism, which they say impacts or has taken the time that they were supposed to spend dealing with hardcore issues. So they need to deal with those issues, and I think only once they have dealt fairly adequately with those issues will they then be able to deal decisively with the challenges that they are facing, that deal with shop floor issues, that deal with, for example, the embezzlement of monies that we are seeing within and among the investment arms of the various unions, and all the other challenges that they are facing.
Vuyo, thank you very much for that contribution. That's our contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko. He will be in Midrand throughout the day, giving us his insights with regards to day 2 of the Congress, or the elective Congress as it's known. And the expectation is that debates will be rather fiery as the Congress enters into its second day. Following delays from yesterday's disagreements amongst the delegates, the Congress managed to take place as planned. The President took to the podium then, and of course he asked for unity and cohesion. But he also pointed out that Cosatu can no longer only look at the workers, but also have to look at the unemployed workers of South Africa, and there has to be planning for that. Nhlanhla talks about Zuma is good from conflicts in the ANC in Natal last week, and now Cosatu, he in fact seems to be holding the whole party together. This one from Nhlanhla Mjiako. Africa United says, I always ask myself, what are the benefits of being in Cosatu if other unions are not happy? Why they must not just leave? Colin Shabangu talks about union cohesion at Cosatu Congress to advance the National Democratic Revolution. Comrade Begi is elected to be the GS uncontested. Then Thabo Mokoshi talks about, and President Jacob Zuma calls for unity within Cosatu after a rocky first day at the Union Federation's 12th National Congress. Yes, a fiery day is what day 2 will be. That's according to our contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko. Yeah, he expects a report that will be delivered to open old wounds, he said. So, stay to this channel. We'll keep you updated as to how things develop there throughout the rest of today. Now,